Welcome to episode 9 of Ramblings and Randomness with Roth and Romelio. He's Roth.
He's Romelio.
And today we will be doing fan scripting fiction. We will be
Trying to get hired by Marvel to write their X-Men movies.
Yes. So that's what we'll be doing, giving our ideas. And I think we decided on 4 movies? Or a TV series and 3 movies? Because that first one that we discussed...
The question is, for Magneto and Xavier, do we do that movie first, or do we do that movie later as the reveal of why they're the way they are?
I think with everything that we've discussed and how we're going.
Because see, especially with the movies we're wanting to do initially, we don't actually have to see their origins.
You're right.
Because we weren't going to be delving into them that closely. We were delving into the others.
Right.
So you can do their origin of where they came from later. Because then you can have, at some point, but wait, shouldn't Magneto be 80 years old? And then you can have the origin series. You can either do a series on the Disney XD, or if those don't succeed, you can try to do an origin movie.
All right, agreed. So we'll do that. I like that. I really like that. All right, so
are we doing that last, or which ones are we doing first? The X-Men,
the
normal X-Men,
the 3
X-Men, and then we'll get to
their origin as a Disney XD series. I think that would be great. All right, so what we discussed was we were talking about what we're going to do this episode. We already know what next week's episode is going to be. That's going to be our fan casting, the X-Men. Pretty easy for us, same rules as always. But this episode, we didn't know what we were going to do. And so we were like, well, where would the X-Men fit in the MCU? And
the big issue was, I started telling him, because I was thinking about it last night, and I was just like, when we had initially been discussing the X-Men, we were just like, you do the original X-Men team, the original, so Beast, Angel, Cyclops, Jean, and Iceman. And then, obviously, the bad guy is Magneto, because that's what you do with the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for the original team. That was their big bad. But there's some issues with that. One, we've seen that movie done to varying degrees of success.
But 3 times?
A lot.
A lot.
They've had Magneto in every full X-Men team movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been in it in some way. And he would still be in ours. But the issue is basically for the original 5 X-Men, we want them in canon as the original group, but they're kind of boring.
They are. Like, I love these guys.
Like, I like them.
And their later stories are pretty good.
And when they're working with everyone else, but the team as a whole, as it was, again, it was the 60s. It was rather cheesy. It was rather corny. And the X-Men didn't sell well during this period. Like, great. It sold all right, but it got canceled and then got rebooted in the 70s. So, that's what I was telling him. I was like, if you really want to do the X-Men, first Marvel X-Men movie, I think you do giant-sized X-Men #1. That is the team where it diversified the X-Men. That's one of the highest selling issues of that time period frame. And that is where X-Men became popular.
Amen.
It's when you introduced Wolverine,
Schnicked.
Nightcrawler,
Bamf.
Colossus,
Ding. Ding.
Storm,
Lightning.
Thunderbird. Oh.
Oh.
I'm missing. It's been a bit. Oh, where's the cover?
Nightcrawler. Oh,
I said Nightcrawler. Oh yeah. Giant. Where's Oh no! Hey, that was everybody.
Was it? Yep. That's it. Oh, Cyclops.
Well, yeah.
Because he made it back, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh no, the other two, they're not on the cover though. That's why I couldn't think. Sunfire and Banshee.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So Sunfire.
Fire!
Banshee.
Ah!
Yeah, now you know how I felt the one time when I screamed like Raph.
Yeah. All right, but so we would do John size X-Men, and
that way. Sorry. So the big thing was you set up, and you're basically doing. You're gonna flesh it out a bit because you need, like, the story is one issue, and doing that in a 2-hour movie, you have time to flesh things out. But it gives us a lot of things. It sets up a lot of characters.
Mm-hmm.
You have the original X-Men. You'll be showing them in flashbacks, so you'll understand that they've been around. But then you'll have Xavier going around the world finding this new team to go. I guess we should explain.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Explain what happens during the. So for those who don't know, in John size X-Men #1, Xavier had sent the original team
To an
island to investigate.
He had, I think, telepathically some
Life form.
life form, hostile force. I think he was angry. But he had sent the original team to investigate. And the original team also had Havoc and Polaris, I think, were there with them.
Really?
Yeah, because they were around before they had set them up earlier, and I think they had gotten captured on the island too.
Once they get there, basically this island is alive, and takes.
You're giving away the whole.
This is a comic. I'm not explaining this. There's some difference, man.
But you want to talk about that's the end of the issue. You want to do the early part of the issue first.
Oh, I never read the issue. I'm just going by what I know.
Oh.
Like from a plot.
So the early issue is the original.
I got 4 kids. I can't read something from the 70s. No, it cost me money to read. That's like a $100 issue.
Yeah, but they've reprinted it a billion times in like.
I got 4
kids. So the original X-Men with a couple of their other recruits go to the island, and something happens. Cyclops is the only one to get away. And so he basically flees back to Xavier and says, all the other X-Men have been captured on the island. And so Xavier then goes, well, I need to go around and find a team of mutants to go rescue them. So that's where they start doing the globe hopping, and X-Men had always sort of been the commentary on social injustices while still being completely vanilla skin color. But I mean, there's Xavier was always thought of as he was supposed to be, his thought process was Martin Luther King, and Magneto was Malcolm X. So they were always thought of as that, and that's the mutants being spurned from society, who they are, was supposed to be a commentary on all the minorities and all the people who are, but they put it in a white package.
Right.
Giant Size X-Men is where they blow that white package out and have it include everybody. He went globe hopping around the world, so we still got plenty of white. We got Wolverine, the fan favorite, Canadian. We got Colossus,
the Russian.
We got Banshee,
the Irishman.
And I wanted to go through all the white and then get to the more interesting ones.
That's it.
Okay. And then we get to the actual, now we're having minorities on the team. Thunderbird,
who is
Native American. And it's a different one, but the one we talked about in our Exiles episode is an alternate reality version of this character.
Right.
And then there's Nightcrawler. Oh,
he's white, but he's blue.
He's German, but he's the blue skinned and looks like a furry demon. Fuzzy Elf was his nickname. And then the two big minorities, which were Sunfire, who was Japanese, and then
Storm,
Aurora Monroe,
African queen, y'all.
And so basically the cusp of that issue is Xavier's going around recruiting everybody. After he recruits them, they all get on a plane, the Blackbird, with Cyclops and head to the island. And then they're like exploring the island. They're able, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think it's through Cyclops has a mental connection with Jean, that I think it's through that they're able to find where they are on the island. And they're all like hanging there, beat up, unconscious, and they can't find anyone who's done it. But there's a bad hostile force there. Well, basically they get them freed, and then it's revealed that it's actually the island itself is alive, and it was the one who is the malevolent force, and it's the one who captured them. So the island tries to fight the X-Men as they're all fleeing, and so that the X-Men are all trying to get away from the island and get home. And then there was the new team succeeds in rescuing the old X-Men, as well as destroying the island by shooting it into outer space with Polaris's magnetic power. And now we have a better story point. Do we even use Polaris?
No.
Right? Right? Alright. So that's the basis of 40-year-old comic or 35-year. No, it's 45-year, whatever.
40-year-old.
When did it come out?
1975. No, 44.
44-year-old comic. So that's the basis for your first X-Men movie.
We all like the fan theory that the multiple snaps on Earth have created mutants. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the original X-Men comics, mutants came about due to nuclear energy, right? Was it like radiation?
Originally, it was similar to that. Yes, where it was actually the thing was, I think the parents had been exposed to radiation in such a way that their children were born with powers from it. That was the initial.
Right.
And then they sort of went away from that and made it just a gene that had nothing to do with radiation. But the initial because I know for a fact it was for Beast,
Right.
his parents, but that it was the parents who were exposed to it in such a way that their kids now were different. It's just, it was the 60s. We need superpowers. We don't want them to look deformed like radiation will actually do to you.
And then, well, you remember the way the Avengers trace, spoilers for Endgame if you haven't seen it.
Spoilers!
The way the Avengers tracked Thanos down after the initial snap was by following a second snap on a distant planet by tracing the radiation signature. So we know that the snap gave off tremendous amounts of radiation, different kinds, mostly gamma, and a bunch we may not know of. So if 3 snaps on Earth would permeate the planet in radiation. So that could be a stepping point to explain the genesis of mutants. So with that being said, the way we figured the first movie would be Giant Size X-Men.
We're going...
close this. No!
So, our plan is, before we do more of these, we're going to fully flesh out the other movies and ideas, and we might do a recurring, this is our thoughts on this. Unless we get a call from somebody and they want us to not spoil it. Him? No, we're not. No.
Oh, no, not yet. You don't have any X-Men?
I have Nightcrawler.
You don't? Oh, he's in the movie, yeah.
I have Wolverine.
Oh, hey, Wolvie. Damn, look how big his feet is.
Most of the X-Men are downstairs in a container because I only had so much space.
There you go, got Wolverine now.
That was his pirate look when he was with Excalibur.
Look how big his feet are. So great.
Alright. So we gave you the breakdown of the first X-Men book.
Yeah.
And we've actually have a little thread plotted out and know how we're laying the seeds for more, but we're going to stick to
Just our first movie.
Here's the movie where you introduce the X-Men in the Marvel Universe. So the X-Men movie is going to take place in 2016 after Sokovia. This being part of the larger universe, everyone's going to be having questions of how is this, when's that? And we've been working and we actually have a good plan laid out for all of those thoughts that we're just laying seeds for, which is what the Marvel movies are big on doing. So there are all the questions on how is this person this age? Where have mutants been? That's going to be answered later. The big thing to know for our purposes is, in the first movie, is mutants are existing before the snap, but there's not many.
Not many at all.
Of like the original X-Men and a few other random ones, that's it. We do like the idea, which a lot of people have put forth, of the snap, and we like that as being, it triggers to have a lot more mutants post-snap. So we're not worrying about that. We're worrying about just our initial movie. So in this initial movie, it has Xavier and Magneto working together to recruit
a new team of X-Men to rescue the original team of X-Men. It will be explained that Xavier sent the original team to investigate a telepathic presence on an island in the Pacific.
He also, with the team, sent Havoc
and Polaris,
which is Cyclops' brother.
And Magneto's daughter.
Yes. Magneto was off recruiting Wolverine.
So, once the disaster hits and the team basically goes off comms, and Cyclops returns without them, Magneto learns that, what Xavier did And this is what begins the rift between them two.
Is he sent his daughter off on a dangerous mission without discussing it with him first because he was off trying to find more people, more mutants.
And we've also discussed that this will be Cyclops' first lead as team leader. Normally it's Magneto who leads field missions. And again, the reason, it will be explained that the reason why no one has heard of the X-Men or seen them is because post-mission Professor X blacks them.
Yes. We have a longer bead that we'll discuss later, but it's basically Xavier is all for revealing mutants to the world, but Magneto is not, and so he's been able to convince Xavier to mind wipe people when they've been when they found a mutant event, so that to protect the small community that there is.
And even with the Mind Stone in the MCU, we have not seen telepathy on the level that Xavier is capable of. So no one would notice this if it was happening. No one would notice that people's memories are being wiped or altered because they haven't seen it.
So that's that's why mutants have. Again, there's not many mutants, so it's not one of those Xavier's having to mind wipe hundreds of people at a time. He's just, if an event happens somewhere, it's like the Men in Black. He's just clicking on a few people who've seen it.
Right, and the X-Men at this point are more like a stealth strike force. You know, they go in, get the job done, and get out. Once Magneto realizes that their team is in danger and they have to rescue them, him and Xavier take point to recruit more mutants.
That's where we'll do the first, what's known as giant-size X-Men, but instead of, it'll be this part, and this part is going to be the most similar, but like X-Men First Class, but with the proper class of people.
Right.
But it's going to be Magneto and Xavier getting the rest of the mutant group together to go save the original.
Right. And so once they assemble the team, and we'll have to do a brief training montage, they'll go to rescue the team, being led by Magneto this time.
Cyclops will be second down because he failed on his first mission. And
they will arrive on Krakoa. Big battle ensues. They are successful in rescuing the team. And then between Polaris and Magneto,
they're able to
launch Krakoa into space. At that point, we'll have them return to the X-Mansion.
Yeah.
Where they're going over what has happened.
And so, while they're there, Jean is going to go to Magneto and say...
No, not just Magneto. She will tell everyone that she felt another presence other than Krakoa, in which Xavier will just dismiss it as Krakoa's anger being multiplied. But because the rift has started between him and Xavier, Magneto doesn't trust what he says.
So that'll be, and then we'll have the happy, everybody is back there.
X-Men.
The X-Men mansion. There's going to be a lot of questions. The thing is, they don't all have to be answered in the first one. Because yes, we know the big question is, if it takes place in 2016, how are we going to have 40 to 50-year-old Magneto and Xavier?
We got this.
We know that. It's fine. But we have the arc set up, so the end of this movie is going to be Magneto going up into space to where the island remains are now in orbit around the Earth, and he's going to find a body. So the after credits scene is he's finding a body on the surface that's in a glow and somehow protected. And he goes, he's talking to himself, who are you? And that will be Vulcan, which is the third Summers brother.
And that will lead into our second movie, which we will discuss at another time. We will do more of these. I think what we should do is, before each fan casting, because the X-Men, because we're introduced so many characters, are going to take a while.
Yeah.
So before each one,
We're
going to do one of these movies.
Yeah.
So
we'll do these movies. So we'll be casting the
Our
important names for these movies. So like this next week's fan casting, the only original X-Man we will cast is Cyclops, because the others are in the movie, but they're not the focus. He's a focus.
Right. And also, I just lost my train of thought. It was there and then it went away. And also, it'll give you a bit of a heads up on what we're doing. So, this movie will be titled, in our heads,
Uncanny X-Men.
That's great. Love it. And we'll be casting the Uncanny X-Men next week. So, we will be casting, so you all understand, Wolverine, Thunderbird, Storm, Sunfire, Banshee, Magneto, Xavier, Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Colossus, and the voice of Krakoa. Again, as we mentioned in our previous fan casting, we are going to, after we reveal who we get, or who we choose, we will put up our choices on our Facebook page and allow you guys to vote who you think should win.
Yeah.
And we'll leave the option open in our comments for you to choose someone yourself, and we'll address it in our next rapid ramble.
So when we do the fan casting, our person in the chair, hopefully Buddha if he's able to get off, but Buddha, probably Angie, will choose which one they like, and we'll have our initial, that's the winner, and then we'll do the Twitter and Facebook. Winner will be announced on the next week's Rapid Ramble. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's it. I'm just saving it so I can kick your tail next week.
Probably. You know, the benefit of this is we're not stuck in an age range.
Mm-mm.
Actually, Cyclops is probably the only one who's in more of an age range that's upper 20s, probably mid to upper 20s, probably.
Oh, I have ideas.
Jensen Ackles. No, who's your go-to? Oh, I know the voice of Krakoa.
Paul Giamatti! No, actually, I have somebody else in mind who's a bit more frightening.
So, who's Paul Giamatti going to be? Xavier?
No. Paul Giamatti's going to be my Wolverine.
Schnick.
Ooh, you know who he would be good as, though? Introduced in a later movie? Mesmero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to... Well, I mean, you could technically have him as the Brotherhood, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well.
But that is our
No, that was our...
That is our ramblings and randomness for this week. It's always a joy. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Any questions or ideas you have, please post in the comments below or on our Facebook page at Roth and Romelio and on our Twitter page at Roth and Romelio. And also remember to use the hashtag RRWRR. I'm Romelio.
No. Or I'm Roth. Sorry.
I'm Romelio.
I'm Roth. Join us next week for a little more R&R.
With R&R.
Wait, is that the Doug thing?
Yeah, Doug's great. Don't diss
The
me.
Nickelodeon Doug was. When it went over to Disney.
I mean, honestly, I didn't watch much Doug growing up. I'm Magneto.
Do what?
If you're going to draw us as X and Magneto, I'm Magneto.
Oh God, I gotta do more drawings.
I mean, you don't have to, but if
No,
you
of
do,
course I gotta do
I
more.
think if you're
Roth,
going
he's
to.
just like, oh god, I can't get a hat on. If he's gonna be X, like you have to take your hat off.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
He's
wait,
going to
am
be
I gonna-
bald. Oh, I got my trimmer in. I got chargers.
But then he could do something goofy for Magneto. Put his hat on top of Magneto's helmet.
No, that's lame. and I want to wear the helmet. That's the only reason I want to be Magneto. With my fat ass head, let it out.
Make sure it's like fans.
I don't want to be Xavier because it's just gonna be me bald, which I'm already going toward anyway. And
Exactly.
but I don't want to do that for
But you could do like this and have little mind things going.
But then that's a whole new drawing.
He doesn't want to see his future. Right? He doesn't want to have to draw.
All right, fine. I'll be Professor X.
No, you'll be Magneto. I'll just be someone else we talk about.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I mean, there's.
Oh, you could be Lilandra.
A big helmet
Yeah.
and the tattoos on the.
Or to Kane. We were trying to see where we think the X-Men could fit into the MCU. After the clusterfuck that was Dark Phoenix. Oh, I just said the F-bomb.
Yeah, that's not going to get us hired.
It's not.
Um,
Well, no, because they didn't write it. They probably thought it too.
Corey.
Okay, so
there's been a lot going on.
a whole lot.
We have fleshed out a lot of ideas for.
Very good.
We
Kevin Feige,
are pretty happy with.
Call me. Okay, I'm going to tag you. You got to call me, bro. This is really good.